Violence continues to escalate in Afghanistan amid the pullout of the US and NATO troops. The Afghan Taliban attacked Kandahar airport and several major cities, while US airstrikes continue to pound the country for almost 2 weeks in support of government troops. China has called the hasty pullout the failure of US policy on Afghanistan. The former US Commander General David Petraeus said America is abandoning Afghanistan to a quote-unquote bloody, brutal civil war. How to bring the situation quickly under control and what role can China play, especially after the Afghan Taliban delegation visiting China? Joining me today from Kabul is Lailuma Nasri, co-founder and vice president of Afghanistan Justice Organization, a non-profit advocacy, and from Xi'an, northwest China, Professor Wang Jing from the Northwest University of China. Welcome to both of you to the point. So, Ms. Nasri, while the US has intensified airstrikes in support of the government forces, fighting has indeed escalated. There are reports of Afghans trying to flee the country to escape the violence. What is the situation on the ground? How about food, water and other essential supplies for ordinary people?
Thank you. Yeah, as you mentioned, the violence has escalated, particularly after the US government announced its withdrawal, and they continue to withdraw at this moment as well. Taliban have launched attacks on different provinces, particularly those provinces where they have borders with other countries such as Iran and Pakistan, and those borders are strategic and important for Afghan government and Afghanistan in general. So they're trying to capture or intensify the situation in those areas where the government can be more impacted, or the activities and the life of the people can be more impacted. The situation is not good, of course, as you also are aware through media reports and all, that the situation is not good. Security situation, particularly in this at district level, is worsening day by day, and the international community also has kind of kept itself away from the current situation, although there are statements issued by different countries, but definitely not, it's not helping the situation.
US President Joe Biden said recently the US has allotted $3.3 billion to assist Afghan security forces, but nothing about reconstructing the country. Professor Wang, what do you think about Washington's Afghan strategy, especially at this particular stage?
I think the Washington strategy towards Afghanistan is very clear, that the United States has already made the decision to totally withdraw its military presence and does not want to hold the responsibilities as it held before. Because from the United States perspective, the United States has, as Joe Biden said, has already spent a lot of money and has already input a lot of energy and the military ambition inside Afghanistan, and hope to help Afghanistan go back to the stability and the peace under the United States designed and planned so-called democratic structure. But then it failed, and United States does not have the confidence right now to totally defeat Taliban and to help Afghanistan to go back to stability and peace. It's kind of the burden for United States. So that is why United States hope to leave the country as soon as possible, although it has made some promises. Okay, they will come back under kind of certain conditions. They will still offer the assistance and help to Afghan government. But this cannot cover the United States decision or willingness that it will leave, and this does not want to. It does not want to take the responsibility that it has to and it should take as before.
Chinese State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi held talks in Tianjin, northern China, right next to Beijing, with an Afghan Taliban delegation led by Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, head of the Taliban's political commission, on July the 28th. Now, Wang said he hoped that the Taliban will make a clean break with all terrorist organizations, including the East Turkestan Islamic Movement, a UN-designated terrorist group. The visitors said they would not allow Afghan soil to be used for attacks against China. Ms. Nasri, can the Taliban be trusted to keep their word?
Of course not. Taliban have not, ever since they started negotiations with the US government and reached an agreement, until now, at least, they have not shown any actions that can prove them be trusted by international community and by the people of Afghanistan. They keep increasing violence. People lose lives. People are made displaced from their homes. They close borders and they close the ways that usually the Afghan government and the people use as export-import highways and all, and that has created a lot of trouble in life of a normal, ordinary Afghan. International community, I think, should not trust the Taliban because they promise that they will stop having relations or cooperation with Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups. But the recent UN report shows that they have not. Instead, they have increased their relations and contacts with the Al-Qaeda. These are the signs that the international community, the partners, and we, the people of Afghanistan, cannot trust them. Taliban must show flexibility. They must show respect to the demands of the people of Afghanistan, and then they can be trusted. At this moment, I think they have not done anything trustworthy that anyone should trust them.
Professor Wang, what is China's position then? By meeting the Afghan Taliban delegation in Tianjin, China definitely lends a certain level of legitimacy to this force. And, some commentators, including you as well, have said Taliban would play a vital role politically. What kind of role is that then?
I think China's role is, as always, very important and is always very constructive, because China's contact with Taliban suggested that China's respect on the one hand, the reality of Afghanistan, but on the other hand, the very idle future of Afghanistan. Because on the perspective of reality, we have to know that there were still a lot of uncertainties. There were still a lot of things unknown inside Afghanistan, inside what the future could be for Taliban. And on the other hand, Taliban is still a very important political and military bloc inside the country that without Taliban's agreement, no comprehensive peace can be reached in this country. So that's why China, as a very important neighboring country and a member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, China hopes to facilitate and encourage the different parties, especially between the Afghan government and Taliban, to further talks and to further negotiation to resolve the conflicts and crises through the negotiation table. So that's why China expressed its willingness to cooperate with all the parties and to help the Afghan people under the principle of Afghan people led, Afghan people owned.
Ms. Nasri, what is the expectation from people in Afghanistan after the meeting in Tianjin? What is your expectation, for instance, after seeing the messages coming out of the Tianjin meeting?
Well, as Professor Wen also just had mentioned it, that the Chinese government must use its leverage and leverage over Pakistan and other regional countries, put pressure on Taliban, because it seems there are good ties, good relations between Taliban and China, looking at the recent trips and visits. And that's how China can play a role, other than development and economical development assistance or support in Afghanistan. I think giving the Taliban leverage or boost instead of the Afghan government is unfair. We have a legitimate government, and our neighboring countries and countries in the region and in the world must consult with Afghan government, support Afghan government, and make Taliban or pressure Taliban to accept peace, ceasefire, peace agreement with Afghanistan, with Afghan government, and be part of a broad-based or inclusive government instead of increasing violence and putting pressure. I think that's this part for me personally is unfair, but instead China can use its good relation with the government of Afghanistan. China can be a great support in the future of Afghanistan, whether it's security, whether it's economic development, and many more areas. For me, and I have mentioned it many times on several occasions, that boosting the Taliban is unfair to the people of Afghanistan and also to the government. One great sign or example is the US government agreement with Taliban without having the Afghan government be in the process. That's what I think, or what I take from the recent meeting of Taliban leadership with officials in China.
Dr. Wang, what is China's position on the escalating violence in Afghanistan as a result of the situation right now? Maybe the Afghan Taliban feeling boosted, so they want to use their military advances as kind of a leverage so that they can have more influence or more say in the political settlement process.
Yes, Liu Xin, unlikely, as you say, that the conflicts and the confrontations inside Afghanistan continues, is still there. So, and a lot more and more people are suffering from the warfare. We have to know that, as I want to stress, that China is not the first country that contact the Taliban. I mean, if we look at the other countries, for example, Russia hosted the Taliban representatives, the Iran organized the meetings between the Afghan government and Taliban, even the United States. This is, as our friend from Afghanistan stressed, that the United States made the deal with Taliban without approval or without information of the Afghan government. So that is why after the United States is responsibility. It's created the imbalance of the country. After the United States unilateral withdrawal from Afghanistan, it gave rise to the conflicts and the confrontations of the country. So that is why everybody, especially every related Afghan issue-related party and countries, had to take measures to help pacify the tension. So we have to know that given and against this backdrop, that China has to do something, what can be done, but just to facilitate the talks between the different parties, Afghan government and Taliban. That is why China has to talk with Taliban and to stress the importance of the peaceful dialogues between Afghan government and Taliban for the future stability and the future development of the country, of Afghanistan. So that is why I think China's action is very full of responsibility and very, very important to bring the country back to the stability, because the Taliban's the military confrontation with Afghan government is still there. The only way out, if we do not want war, then the only way out is the delegation, the dialogue that mediated by the international society, including China. Liu Xin.
Hopefully that will happen sometime soon.